So, what's on the show today, Georgie?
On the show today, Sammy, we have a very talented artist, Mr. and writer, Mr. Bret Juliano. Bret Juliano will be on the show. He's got a book called Dusty Bunny Mafia. And the topic, get your meds for the day, will be a thin line between inspo and swipo. What is the difference? We're also going to be talking a little Kickstarter. So check us out.
That's it. Let's get it started.
We are the only show for independents all around, giving you a platform to spread your word all over town. Cast the Craze is the place to promote to your fans with the dream of Medina and Sam the Crazy Man. Subscribe to our show and never miss an episode. It's time to get your meds, listen to us on the go. Updated every week, we never miss a day. Join the squad, come on in. It's time to catch the Craze. If you are an independent, catch the Craze. Making moves on your own, catch the Craze. On your grind in the streets, catch the Craze. Join the movement, catch the Craze.
Yeah, George, we did it again. Come on now. You know you want to do it. Catch the Craze. Welcome to Catch the Craze podcast. I am your host with the most, Sam the Crazy Man, Vera, and I am with
George the Dreamer Medina.
to the hip dip, the hop, you don't stop. Das Effects is the real hip hop.
What up, Sammy?
What up, George? I was like, what the hell? He fell asleep on me.
Dude, you know what? I discovered the mute button on Zoom, and sometimes I forget to take it off. So I'm like,
Hot mess. Hell
and
hot.
nobody understands what I'm saying. But here I am. Here you are. We are on another episode of Catch the Craze. It is the weekend of Valentine's Day. So
Is it?
Oh yeah. Oh, no, I'm lying. It's a lie.
Oh.
It's a lie. It's January 29th. It's the weekend. No, I'm lying. It's all lies. I'm sorry. Yeah, no.
I was like, I suck because I forgot all about it.
Yeah, word. No. It's January 29th. So fellas, don't get nervous. It's January 29th. We have a very, very good guest on the show today, Mr. Bret Juliano.
Juliano,
you can't help but say it like that. And he's got a book called Dust Bunny Mafia.
he said Dusty. He said Dusty Roads.
Bunny Mafia.
Yes.
So we're going to be talking to him about that. Very, very fun interview. He's a very, very, very good guy.
Yeah, it was a really good interview. The guy has more fedoras than I got hair on my lip.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
Yes, he does. And it's cool. It's cool. The concept of the book, everything. It's awesome. You know, obviously we have our topic for the day today, so we'll be talking about that. But before we even get started, welcome everybody. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that like button, comments, all that stuff, all that good stuff. If you haven't had a chance yet, we are about 2 weeks away from our completion of the Kickstarter that we have running right now for Catch the Crazies #2. So if you haven't pledged yet, head over there, give us a pledge.
At the time of this recording, look at that. At the time of this recording, we are currently at 197%.
Yeah, so we are funded.
We are funded. Now we're on stretch goals, and we have a lot of incentives in those stretch goals.
Yes.
Yeah, you got that. Look at this. Look at the shirt. Look at that shirt. Look at that crazy shirt, bro.
That T-shirt was actually from our first Kickstarter. For issue #1, so that's dope. We're gonna have T-shirts and hoodies actually of this guy right here. So he'll be making his appearance on the on the apparel side of things. So yeah, I mean it's exciting. We were having fun doing the book. We say this a lot, but we are. It's an exciting project. Happy to be working on it with Sammy, and so it's all good in the hood.
Sammy Banani. Yes.
Oh yeah, baby. So what you been up to? What's going on with you, Sam?
Well,
Talk to me.
we're 375 views away from hitting 75,000 views on YouTube, which is freaking fantastic. Look at that. There goes Sam. Look at that nostril. You know, when I saw that, I was like, yo, I got a schnozzle.
I got a schnozzle.
Schnoz.
My schnozzle gets bigger in the comic.
I don't want to know about your personal life.
Well, I didn't think of that. You're disgusting.
You're disgusting.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
Anyway.
Yeah, so actually, you know, while you were showing that, what I've been up to, I've been doing a lot of images and a lot of pinups. So here's one of the pinups that I just completed. Released the Crazies. And there it is. You saw me start it on a Kickstarter live show a week ago. And you saw me sketch it from a blank piece of paper. And this is the final piece. And then you joined me last weekend on live on IG and on Twitch and YouTube as I was coloring it. Here's the finished piece. I'm really pleased with this piece. And it's pretty cool to draw these characters. Really having fun. I haven't had this much fun drawing characters since There's Nail in My Toilet. You know, I think that was probably the most fun. There's Nail in My Toilet was probably the most fun I had drawing because it was so organic. And now that I'm really, really honing in the style and the look of these characters, I'm having fun. In the beginning was rough because trying to adapt to Emperor's style was very challenging. So I said, how do I get that look in my style? And maintaining their DNA. So every day, I'm always drawing them and until it's mastered.
Yeah, I think you've definitely injected your style into it, though. It's definitely taken more of your style rather than what Impro actually was doing. So,
yes, I didn't want to mimic. I want to make sure I had my flavor. Here comes the brand new flavor in your ear. Time for new flavor in your ear. I'm kicking new flavor in your ear. Sam's got new flavor in your ear. Remember that song?
That beat is everything.
Everything, bro. That beat is, yo, if you're a hip hop head.
You can do like, you know, any, mini, mighty, mo on that bad boy, and it still sounds good.
Yes.
But yeah, so we have a lot of things going on, man. I think it's a good thing. I know we are working on getting some stuff out there to the public, you know, some of our intellectual properties. So that's cool. That's always a challenge. I know you've been busy behind the scenes doing a lot of that stuff. So that's cool too. Yeah,
I'm also going to work on getting the series in Comixology.
Yeah.
And not just Indie Planet. I'm trying to get it into as much locations as possible.
Yeah.
Print on demand locations. So working on that.
That's right.
Building my network. You know, joining a lot of groups on Facebook to build a network and just collaborate with a lot of different creators out there.
That's right. Yeah, no, there's a lot going on. I'm actually also just lettering the book itself, just lettering issue 2. That's almost done. And as soon as we get some of the stuff in from there was a young lady who pledged to the $250 reward.
Yeah.
Her name is Crystal Haskins. Big shout out to Crystal. She pledged $250 and she's an aspiring writer. So she's got a one-pager that she's writing to be published into the Catch the Craze #2. So aside from our story, you're also going to be getting her single-page story on there that Sam's going to be illustrating. So that's going to be cool. So yeah, that $250 level allows you to do that. You become a writer on the book, write a one-pager, and your story will be published inside of the book. So definitely take advantage of that if you're interested. If you're a writer who wants to do that, go to our Kickstarter. The link will be on the information of the podcast here, and pledge, get involved. Sam will draw it. I'll letter it. We'll get it colored for you, and it's gonna look dope. So it's a good way to get some of your stuff out there, publishing wise. And Sam just said it's trying to get some of that stuff. We're trying to get that stuff into Comixology, so you'll really be getting a lot of exposure at that point. So
yeah, so independent Comixology, I'm trying, everywhere just to get it out there, and you can brag that you got a published piece. Look at that. That's Psycho Crazy. Psycho Crazy in that piece. He
looks scary, dude.
He
looks scary. I'm like, I don't know if I want to hang that on my wall, but I kind of want to hang it on my wall. Like,
yeah, he's like dope. It's like,
this was using her chains up on top of that van.
yo, she ain't playing. I take it up to a whole nother level. It's like, yo,
Yeah,
whoopa.
these guys, they look all lovable and cute, and Sam's just turned them into beasts.
No, I'm turning him into beast. I want you to be afraid before you love.
Yeah.
It's almost like my philosophy. When I was in the business sector before I became a brokepreneur. It's one of the things I always say to my teams. I said, look, this is going to be a journey. You're going to hate me before you love me. I said, and that's fine. We're going to learn to trust each other. We're going to establish a foundation based on trust and transparency and open dialogue. But it'll take time. And I know, and I'm a realist, I know it's not going to happen overnight. But I just expect you guys to be as honest with me as possible, and I will do the same. And that's the only way we can move forward. That's normally what I do, and when I inherit any new team, so that they understand. And then I expose a little bit about myself, and I start asking questions. And then what I do is I build relationships. But I always say that's what I want to do with the crazies. I want you to hate them before you love them. I want you to be like, damn, these guys are vicious, especially when they start, oh, skinny bop, all night and day. When they start bopping, it's gonna be over.
The story, though, the story explains sort of the why they are the way they are. So that's, the visuals are one thing, and what Sam is drawing are one thing, but that story is going to take you through their arc, right? This is the reason why they do certain things that they do. In the first issue, you get a little glimpse. You get a little, I'm not even going to say a glimpse. There's a little bit of a backstory, not a lot. But as the second issue comes around, then you're actually gonna see them, and there are some sample pages on the Kickstarter. If you guys go check out the Kickstarter page, there are a couple of sample pages on there. Artwork in there is by Sam, obviously, and also by our artist JC Grande.
Yes.
Who big shout out to him. He's fast. This guy pumps them out. So the second issue is already drawn, like it's completed. Second issue is done. My man's just waiting for payment. It's like he's already been paid because you guys were very generous the first time around, so we were able to cover him for this book.
Yeah.
The funds for this Kickstarter are covering the printing cost. So
it's actually covering the printing cost and his final payment.
Oh, for issue 2.
For issue 3.
That's what I'm saying. Issue 2 is already paid for.
Oh yeah, issue 2 was paid for.
Yeah.
No, wait.
This one, and that's why. And listen.
Yeah.
Kickstarter has been the way to go for a lot of independent artists and a lot of small guys, a lot of indie publishers and things like that. Because with no conventions out there, this is the way to get our books out to the public. So thank you to everyone who has pledged to our Kickstarter. You didn't have to. I know it's tough times right now for all of us, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm backing 4 Kickstarters right now. We practice what we preach. So we are an independent outlet for independent creators in anything you do, whether you're street art, fine art, whether you're a musician, you're a dancer, an actress, cosplayer, gamer, you're a creator and you're building your own brand from scratch. We promote you, comic book creators as well. But we also support, we support that with the podcast, and we also support it on Kickstarters too. So if we're expecting people to pledge for us, we also give the love back too, because there's a lot of fantastic properties out there. It's amazing. I was scrolling, and this just, I get floored by some of the stuff that's on there. And I'm like, whoa, and then it's exciting, then you start like, oh, we're competing with this. And I'm like, you get like gun shy and like, I'm competing against that. Dang. But it's exciting, and we love indies. We are true independents, and we grow together.
See, I think, and you're right, man. There is a lot of beautiful artwork. There are a lot of so much interesting stuff. There are so many creators out there, and everybody's trying to put this stuff up. So there is a lot of competition. But I'm a huge sports fan. Huge. I love sports. I love the competition in sports, and I'm a true believer in this. I played a lot of basketball growing up, and you're only as good as the competition you play against.
That's it.
The better the competition, the better you get.
That's just the way it is. And that's exactly what I mean.
Right. So when you look at the beautiful artwork that's out there, it just you can either say, "Oh man, I can't compete, I'm out," or you say, "Yo, dude, let me get in there. All right, let's go," and it motivates you to get better, and it motivates you to do more. So, yeah. Congratulations to everybody who was on Kickstarter.
I could tell
and
you,
thing. It's freaking amazing.
For a guy who hasn't been illustrating in 10 years, which is me, right? I get inspired by what I see on the communities and Facebook, on Instagram, and on the Kickstarters. And I'm like, whoa. So I go pen to pad, and I'm like hustling. I was like, yo, I love that. Yo, I love that. And and for me, it's like, yo, and I'm trying to top myself. So when I see that, I say, I got to get better. I said, I love that angle. I never even thought about that. Oh, look at the way, it's like, look at, even like I'm forcing myself to learn how to color. Normally I would outsource because I'm not a good colorist, but I just did that last piece, and I stay there and I play. And the good thing about it is you can zoom in, you can play with different brush strokes. I'm getting more confident because I'm doing it every day. And that's what's working for me.
That's actually a perfect segue, Sam, to our topic of the day today on Get Your Meds.
Oh, he's acting up. So let's go to...
that's a perfect segue, though.
Let's do this, Brutus!
It's time for your medicine.
So the beat went on. I'm going to have to edit that one. So anyway, so this is Get Your Meds. And what are we talking about, Georgie?
Get Your Meds. And the reason why I say that's a good segue is because the topic of today is a thin line between inspo and swipe out.
It's a thin line between love and hate.
Where do you, like Sam was talking about, inspiration. And we were just talking about inspiration, seeing all of these other things, and you go in and at what point does it become stealing, right?
Woo! Because the art of the steal.
It's a thin line. But,
give me that.
But I heard the beat and it stopped. So let's talk about that thin line, man. I'm currently watching a show called The Boys, and I talked to you about that last week.
Let's hear it for the boys
on Instagram Live. Saturday, Sammy goes live on Instagram for a little drawing, so check that stuff
every
out.
Saturdays and Sundays. Catch me on IG.
But we were talking about a show called The Boys. Now I'm watching this show called The Boys, right? And I'm watching it, but I'm watching it carefully because as a creator, sometimes you can't help, but some of that stuff stays in your head, right? And subconsciously, when you're creating your own stuff, you bring some of that stuff into your stories. So there's a thin line between being inspired by what you see and then completely just, inadvertently just kind of swiping some of that and putting it into your book. So how do we keep that from happening? What do you think?
I've been thinking. So I can tell you I get inspired a lot. So I look at a lot of, like I'm learning how to do special effects in Infinity Photo. So like, for instance, Psycho Crazy, he's shooting the bats out. And so I wanted like magic coming out of his hands. So I look at a lot of images to say, all right, and I'm trying to figure out how many colors are in that image. What are the tones? How did they accomplish that? So I studied the image to try to recreate the image, to get that effect, the effect. But I could tell you, what I do is I have a lot of art of books, and sometimes I get, poses or scene ideas from that. Like the cover that I did for Catch the Crazies, which was the pinup on the first Kickstarter, where we're upside down.
Yeah.
I got that inspiration from Pinterest. And they weren't upside down, but there was the guys tie it up and whatever. So I was like, oh, I want to tie us up. And I said, but how do I get so I was like, so how do I get that effect? And it's like, wait, maybe if I hang us. And so, that's where I get my inspiration and my ideas that generate from that. But what I don't want to do is, like, for instance, back in the days, Rob Liefeld was known for taking exact poses from other artists. He was always being So he would recreate the same exact scenes for Youngblood that you would see in Avengers or something like that. And I don't want to do that. But if I do like a specific scene and I want to replicate it with my characters, I will give props to where I got it from.
Yeah.
That look, with my characters. And so I think it's difficult. I said, you don't want to steal somebody else's idea. But the artists are inspired by other artists,
Yeah.
and that's what it is. I think, and if you're going to try to rip a look or a pose, make sure you give homage to it. If you're doing it in your own style with your own characters, but you like the way they made that, because there's only so much you can do on a flat surface, right? And especially for covers. And so, somewhere along the line, your cover is going to look, or the poses in that cover is going to look like some other cover that someone else has seen. You just want to try to make sure that you're keeping it pure to you, and not just completely just ripping off the other person. That's the hard part.
See, yeah, no, I think that, and it's interesting you went to Pinterest to get some of that inspo, but for like a cover, like I never even thought of doing it that way. So I mean, and even that is creative, right? You get creative about where the inspiration comes from. You just don't go to Instagram and okay, an artist drew this, let me draw that.
No. I have in Pinterest, it allows you to save and create folders in Pinterest.
Yeah.
So I have a folder called Sketch Art.
Yeah.
So I like looking at the raw piece of the art, which is the pencil drawings. So I like looking at a lot of different diverse artists. I have maybe a few hundred stock images of artists that sketching, and then I have like creepy art, and then I have like superhero art, or I have fantasy art, and this is just all like, for instance, if I want to draw something for Forbidden, which is like Victorian age, or they wear specific clothing, I'm gonna Google what that period looked like so I can understand when I'm drawing the clothing, I want to get it as close to it as possible. So you're gonna look at other artists' rendition of how they captured that period for that piece for the clothing.
But you can also research that period. To
Yeah,
get
yeah.
The actual, and
Yeah.
to me, at that point, that's just research. Like,
That's research.
That's just research.
So
Yeah,
that's why I have
research
all
and
those
reference.
images
Reference
for
Like,
that, for
a lot
reference.
of artists will, take a picture of somebody posing like that and then draw that, because that's just a reference shot.
Yes.
Maybe you add a little more dynamic. You add a little more oomph to it.
Yeah.
But as far as like, and as far as like artists, that's where you get your inspiration from. Maybe other artists, maybe things like that. To me, it also, when you're drawing a cover, I think the cover is one of the most important things is a cover, because that's what's going to sell you the book, right?
Yes.
Anything that the first image that somebody sees is and when you're standing in front of at a comic book shop, whatever, and you have tons of covers in your face, you want to be able to grab one that boom, oh shit, what is that? Oh shoot, what is that? So I think that's the other thing about the covers is, and it has to capture that person, right? But the other thing of that too is, how do you make it different? Well, if your story is different, take a scene from within your story to make that into a cover. Like, for example, the one where you were talking about, the create, us being tied up upside down. Part of that is the story, right? These little crazy creatures are just crazy, and they're mischievous. And so tying somebody up would totally be something they would do. So that's true to that story, with all of them just kind of hanging around and doing all of these things.
And whenever I'm doing a cover for an issue, I look at the plot for the issue to determine what the cover is going to look like.
Exactly.
I try to reenact, like tell the story for that book in one picture.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where I get my inspiration for the covers. Yes. But I think it's like when you look at that one pinup, it's the crazy's out of control. We're tied up. The crazy man doesn't know what to do. He looks helpless. He's like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" We're tied up saying, "Oh my God, what did we do?" Well, you're looking at me like saying, "Oh my God, what did you do?" You know what I mean? So it's like, and they're just wreaking havoc. So when you look at it, it's like, oh man, I want to open this book and see what's going on. For the first issue, where you have you and me reunited with the mics, and then you have this mysterious figure in the background. that gives you an idea. Is that a dream sequence? What's going on? Who is that big old Afro dude in the background? You know what I mean? So it's it plays into the story, and I think if you're a comic book artist, read the script for the issue that you draw on the cover, and that'll give you your roadmap for that cover.
Yeah, and then on the writer's side of that, you know, when I was in college and I was taking a literature class, the teacher said that if you look at some novels throughout the years, a lot of those novels pay, like you were talking about, Sam, pay homage or an ode to older books of literature.
Yes.
So like you will always have heroes, and the idea of heroes and things like that, these are themes that are you know, that just go on throughout the years and on different books and things of that nature. So that necessarily isn't what I'm talking about when I talk about stealing, right? Because you're inspired by that, you use that theme in your story.
Yes.
What I'm talking about stealing is, you know, you see a character in one story and you're like, you know what, let me take that same exact character, change its name, and go from there. What I also find interesting is in the superhero genre, just about everything has been done, right? Superpowers.
Yes.
Superpowers are like, so what a lot of stories now are doing, and even remember when we were you put me onto this Incredible by Robert Kirkman.
Invincible.
Right. Invincible, not Incredible. Invincible. He took the superhero genre and added something else to it, right? The Boys, same thing. Took the superhero concept, flipped it, and did something else to it.
Yes.
And I think that is inspiration versus stealing, right? Yeah, it's a superhero book. That's what it is. But how do you make it different? And I think that's that line where it's like, I'm not just going to steal it. I'm going to flip it on its side. And you can watch all of these other stories for inspiration as long as you're not stealing what they're doing or what their angle is.
It's a reason why I never done superhero characters. Because it's everyone's trying to do a superhero character, and you know, I think for me, when everything that I put my name on, it's different. It's not for the sake of being different. It's just there's so much that's already been told.
There's a lot,
but you know, where I get my inspiration from is usually from the universe. It's usually from some influence that comes out of nowhere. It's usually when I'm in a meditative state, I'll sipping on something, or stressed, and that's where stuff comes from, and I think or ideas come from. I think it's organic, and then those ideas that that are organic, you got to just flesh it out. It might not be what's trending, but if you believe in it, don't try to copy paste repeat. Go out and just create something that speaks to you, that you are having fun writing. You're not trying to create something because you want likes and you want to get published. Create for you. And if you put the heart into it, people will see that. Be authentic.
Yeah.
And it's hard in this creative space because there's so many people fighting for that piece of the pie.
See, I think that the one thing that we have a lot of things in common as humans, right? But we all have a story. Like your story is not the same as my story.
Nope.
We all go through the same thing. We've lost people in our lives and things of that nature. But that story becomes our story, our own personal story. Yes. So the inspiration as a creative mind, for me personally, when I created the Russ 5377 character, I was working at an orphanage. I was working at that orphanage. So while working at the orphanage, I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to have a story about a kid who was in an orphanage? Right. But now the creative part of it and the action adventure side of it, because that's what I love, and I like sci-fi and all that other stuff. What if it wasn't just an orphanage? What if there was, and I love conspiracies. So what if it wasn't just an orphanage, it was like a cover for something else. Now you may say, yeah, that's been done before, but you know what? the difference, the originality for that story is it comes from personal experiences.
Word.
You know, and the kid isn't just a kid. He looks different. You know, he was altered when he was a baby, but his physical appearance is different. So now he's like almost like an outcast. So these are themes that growing up, we all kind of battle that, right? We're not, you know, some of us are picked on when we're smaller because of the way we look and things like that. So we each have to inject some of our own, you know, truths into the stories. And I think that that's what sparks originality.
Yes.
It's when you inject some of your own stuff in there, because not everybody has the same story. So in order to keep it original, you know, just inject some of you in it. And I think you do that in some of your characters as well. You know,
Yeah, I think it's you know, if I have to really self-reflect, you know, there's failure in my stories. There's being an outcast in my stories. There is defying the odds in my story. A lot of it is the stuff that I've experienced.
It's you, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Personal.
Yeah, it's personal. So you don't realize it until you look back at it and like you're really telling pieces of you. And I think that's when it's organic and it's generic and it's authentic.
Right.
Then it's then there's truth to it. I think be mindful of what you're doing when you're creating. I mean, I love like the new art for the Ninja Turtles that I'm seeing all over IG and everywhere else, but I'm not going to rip that off. You know, I love the art of Invader Zim. I'm not going to rip that off. I just love the art. I'm a fan of art. But I will get inspired by the art to challenge myself to get more dynamic. Because I see guys, it looks like it's just fluid for them to create these amazing poses and angles, and you know, their perspective is crazy. And I'm like, I have to challenge myself to be able to capture some of those angles in my book. You know, and I think that's where then it's fine. But if you're just completely ripping something, you're gonna get, you know, people are gonna see you for what you are, a fraud. So try not to be.
I think we're all influenced by something. Yeah. Right. We just can't help it. Subconsciously, we're all influenced by something. I'll tell you. I know you talked about comic book, like just superhero comic books. Like the one superhero comic that I have created is The Adventures of Wonder Duck. Right. And when I was a kid, I was a huge fan of the Disney Afternoon. So I was heavily influenced by that in that book. But again, it's about telling a story a different way and adding things into injecting some of the stuff from your life into the book. So I think that's the key. When you're creating, it's about, yes, you are going to be influenced. You can't help it. You know, sometimes, and I had a conversation with Anibal because he was the one that put me onto the show, The Boys. He's like, yo, watch it so that you can see some of the things that maybe are similar to what you're creating. And, you know, I can see that. I can see why you would watch something to kind of like, okay, let's avoid that. Oh, wow, let's avoid that angle.
No, but you know what's funny?
Because it sounds a little too much like it.
You know, it's funny because when I created There's Nail in My Toilet and we were producing it, I remember people saying, "Oh, it sounds like Invader Zim." It sounds like, and I'd never seen it.
I know, yeah,
right. And I've never seen it, never watched a cartoon, never picked up a book. In fact, my first Invader Zim book I picked up was the one I just recently received in the mail, where I just did it on.
I've never watched.
You know what I mean? So then when I looked at it, I was like, interesting. Mm-hmm. The similarities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so that becomes that fine line, but one had nothing to do with the other.
Yeah, sometimes that happens, right?
It happens. You're going to see a lot of similarities. I mean, I remember I pitched There's Nail in My Toilet to the big boys, and it didn't get. I'm talking about movie studios, and then all of a sudden they came out with There's Nail in My Attic.
Yeah.
And I was pissed. You know, so I can't prove that, you know, or anything like that, but you know, people will take and rip from what they see. You know, I guarantee you, you know, podcasters are going to want to create their own comic book because of what we're doing. You know what I mean? So it's people are going to take
The other thing is, though, Sam, not to interrupt you, but the other thing is, there might be something out there already. We've never seen it.
Never seen
it. Right? So they are, but you guys should. No, we didn't. We didn't rip anything off. I've never seen anything like what we're doing, and kudos to us.
And I've been on several podcast shows where they're like, man, that's really cool. Run, that's very different. Oh, that's just pretty dope. And I think ketchup and plan ahead. I don't know what that is. That's it. My Outlook app. My Outlook app allows. If I just hit play, it'll play my emails for me. That's crazy.
Nice.
I just noticed that. But so just be mindful. Try not to rip off.
You were talking about people. You talk to people.
They're like, this is very different. It's very cool. It sounds fun. We get a lot of very complimentary responses. We see this as the next what is it? Rick and Morty. We could be as popular as that, whatever. So, but no one's saying, that sounds like this and sounds like that, and because this was organic, because it's our story. It's our story. It's with a fantasy twist.
Right.
The crazy man came from me doing a skit. You know what I mean? It was like
an alter ego, right?
Yes.
So the crazy, and I was going to talk about that character, the crazy man, which is this guy right here.
Yes.
Is essentially, if you've seen this before somewhere, that's a complete coincidence.
Yes.
And if you have seen something like this before,
you probably saw me on my social media.
and not only that, it's the 70s.
Yes.
This is what guys look like in the 70s.
Yes.
But the difference here is that the life of the character is injected by the creator and his personal views on the character, the way he talks, what he likes. This is essentially this is what Sam would be, I think, if you grew up in the 70s.
Word.
You'd be like always dancing around, talking about, you know what I mean?
It could be dancing. Yeah.
If you look at one of the latest skits that you did, where he's like, "I'm just waiting for my fans," and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna cover a book." Like, that's totally you. Like, that's your alter ego. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, that's where the originality of the character comes from.
Yes, and you could, and it's funny because he also has that. It's almost like Duty from Disneyland in my toilet. Well, on the flip side, Duty thinks he's the smartest person in the universe, but Duty is, he thinks he's the best. Well, the crazy man is just gullible, and he reacts to what's happening in the moment. Where, the skit that I did is he sees himself on a cover of a comic book, and he thinks he's famous, and he doesn't need me anymore. So yeah, he's hilarious. In fact, I got 72 likes on TikTok. I put it on TikTok. I put it on Snapchat. I put it everywhere. It's crazy.
But yeah, so it's it is a very thin line between the inspiration that strikes and how we react to that inspiration, to not the inspiration, but to what inspires us. Whether we just use it as inspiration and do our own thing with it, or we use it and we just take it for what it is. People are gonna know when you've taken it. People are just gonna know. But yeah, add your own twist to it. Don't inject originality into it by making it personal. I think, to me, I think that's the way to do it.
Yes, I think that's it. Yeah, just be honest, be true to yourself, and if you're influenced by something, give credit to where you got the influence from. I just did a segment on the Craze and 10 Less where I was giving props to 3 artists that I follow on Instagram. And I tagged them, gave them the credit, and one of them, responded. He's like, "Yo, man, thank you so much. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support, blah, blah, blah. This really means a lot to me." And it's just me saying, yo, I follow these cats because I like their artwork. I decided to do a show and just pay some respects to these guys. There was no ulterior motive other than, hey, guys, I just want to let you know that this guy sees you. I appreciate what you guys do. It helps inspire me. So thank you. Keep doing it. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. So
that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So now, without further ado, we're going to go to that episode of The Crazy Man so you can see it. And when we come back, we'll be back with Bret Juliano. I'm Sam, the Crazy Man. Peace.
Hey.
What are you doing? What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm waiting for my adoring fans. Yes. Yeah. What adoring fans? Can't you see I'm famous? I have a sticker. Woo! Do you have a sticker? Yeah. Well, I'm on the cover of this book. Are you on the cover? Well, I'm in this poster. Are you in? But you're tied up, and I'm not. So I'm famous, and I don't need you. Hi, I'm the Crazy Man. Hi, I'm Crazy Man.
Candy girl. To learn more about the Crazy Man, make your pledge on Kickstarter for Catch the Crazies today.
All right, and we are back with a very special guest, straight out of The Godfather. We have Bret Juliano. What's up, buddy? How's it going?
It's going good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Good.
Thank you for being on, bro. Appreciate that. I got the packet that you sent us. Looks great, man.
Yeah, hilarious.
Great. We have so many questions about the whole thing. I can't wait to get into it. But I'll let Sam start here.
Yeah, so basically, before we even go into what you've done, and I thought it was hilarious, and I want to know about you. So, where'd you grow up, and what were your influences as a kid?
I grew up in California, Sacramento, and my influences were always like the newspaper style comics. I mean, like a lot of us indie artists, I obviously grew up watching, Saturday morning cartoons and things like that. But probably one of the biggest parts of my childhood and what shaped my, desire to be a cartoonist or an illustrator was the newspaper strips. So Garfield, Calvin and Hobbes, Peanuts, those things. I've got, I don't know, countless collections
Those guys
of
back
those
there?
to this day. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite comic strip?
Ooh, that's a tough one. From the old days, probably Calvin and Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes. Yeah.
But more recently, there was a comic called Ink Pen, and it was a bunch of like out of work superheroes and actors that essentially are like rip-offs of like they're parodying like the Marvel comics and different things, and so you've got them all hanging out in a bar trying to look for work, and getting bad gigs and getting like a Bugs Bunny character that is like thinks he's really intellectual, but then he has some demeaning job where he gets punched around the whole time.
I don't think I've ever seen that one. That's cool though.
Yeah, I found it online in like 2010 through 2015, I think. Yeah. And I know the creator Phil Dunlap did one book of it, but I don't know that. Like I just randomly found it online, but I never saw it really in many newspapers. Or
No, that's what I'm thinking too. But go ahead, Sam.
No, I was gonna say, what was it about comic strips that appealed to you?
I don't know. I think it was just like the whole being able to tell a story quickly, and a lot of them you didn't need to know the whole big back end. You could, so like there were ongoing strips, the Adventures of Spider-Man or like the Mark Trail that were longer stories that you had to kind of know the characters to really understand what was going on. But a lot of them were this little slice of life that just, 10, 15 seconds and you read the strip, you understand what's going on. Yeah. And it would also give you a nice break from reality. I mean, when I was a kid, it was like, great, now I don't have to think about school.
Yeah. So where did you get do you have like training as far as like art training or things like that? Or did you guys just kind of pick up the pen and say that, teach myself and
self-taught?
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I, grew up doodling on everything. I would sit, after school watching the cartoons, and I would, have pencils and, making my own, trying to, when I would go to the local comic shop, I'd, buy my, weekly allowance on comics, and then I'd come home and I would, find a pose I like and try and just, see if I can recreate it without tracing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just kind of came from there. And as I grew up, I went into graphic design and website design and things like that. Kind of steered away from the passion projects, but it was pretty much still self-taught. So after that, I just kind of kept working through the different graphic design angles, and then it's like, all right, now let's switch back to
Yeah.
comics.
Do you work in graphic design now? I mean, professionally, is that what you do? Is that your,
I'm actually a programmer.
Oh,
So I do software engineer, but it's a fancy web developer. But I have done graphic design in the past, and then I realized my strong suit was more in making things functional than
Yeah.
actually doing the graphics. And I'm like, why struggle with this when I could, hire out and
yeah.
have someone that's really passionate about the design do it. So
Right. That's awesome, dude. When did you come back? Like, I know that this is, and I'm assuming when you talk about the passion project, it's Dust Bunny, right? Is that the passion project?
yeah, that is now.
Now, when did you come back to that? When did you come back to working on it?
So it originally, I mean, growing up, I never really had a real project. It was, I had a little cartoon that was Plucky Penguin. That was just kind of this, Danny DeVito type character, really hard-headed little oddball penguin. That was like my go-to character growing up and in high school and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I got out of college, I was working a day job, and I was living in LA at the time, commuting back into on a Friday night, and I saw on a license plate DBM spelled out. And this is, 2010. I didn't have internet on my phone or anything. I'm sitting in traffic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what could DBM stand for? And I thought Dust Bunny Mafia.
Wow.
And it came to me at that, and I was like, all right. I scribbled that down on a little, piece of paper. By the time I got home, I had 6 characters laid out that ended up being the main cast. And originally it was going to be my new graphic design kind of self-employed firm. It was Dust Bunny Mafia branding. And then as I was working with the characters and stuff, I'm like, forget that. I just want to actually make this into a comic strip. And about 2 years later, in 2012, I officially launched it and had kind of been going ever since.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. And it's funny how ideas come, right? You're sitting in traffic, you see this license plate DBM, let's make something of it, and boom, it just clicks, and there it is, Dust Bunny Mafia. Now, for the audience who's watching, this is Bret Juliano, and he's the creator of Dust Bunny Mafia, which is, when you sent us the packet again, you said it was Looney Tunes meets The Godfather. So tell us a little bit about what Dust Bunny Mafia is. And just tell the audience what it is and what it's about and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So Dust Bunny Mafia, I kind of based it on the 5 families of New York, the 5 crime families. And so, at its base, you've got a bunch of rival mobster families all in this miniature world. So you've got dust bunnies, you've got crows, you've got rats, you've got some fish show up, and then you've got the cops that are trying to, shut everyone down, Rico style, while also, some of them are on the take and are always the most law-abiding of the crew. So, and I've been publishing it for, since 2012. So I have over 700 strips online that you can read at dustbunnymafia.com.
So you have 700 comic strips. Now,
I know, I mean, and Sam, when we Sam's got a character that was actually was going to be like a comic strip. Now I know comic strips are very hard to write. So how do you come up with like the jokes, the punchlines, the writing? Tell me about that process. Like you sit down and you're like, all right, what am I going to write about today? It's Dust Bunny Mafia. Like how does it happen?
Well, I mean, originally it was just whatever kind of joke. Watched a lot of mobster, TV shows, read a lot of mobster books, things like that, and both, fictional and true crime style. And originally it was like, all right, I want to tell my own stories, and it was just, I would get an idea while, you know, I was in the car, while I was sitting on the train going to work. I would, you know, one couple of strips I actually introduced when I was living in LA. One of my best friends would come over every Monday night and like clockwork, and he'd be one that I would bounce ideas off of. And, we'd have these interactions, and he would take things to the extreme. And I was like, and my wife would turn over and she's listening to this and she's like, you guys are just ridiculous. And I would take some of that and I would just throw that into a strip, basing it, on some of the characters on real life friends and family. There was one strip in particular where my wife really hates mustard, the condiment. And at one point she was making me lunch and she was making me a sandwich with mustard on it. And she got like the tiniest drop on her. And she was like, I hate this stuff. Why do you like it? And so I turned it into a strip based on that and like kind of blew it up. And
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that is great. Yeah, it's funny. Like I said, where inspiration strikes, right? Now you've been doing this since 2012. What has the feedback been? Like, what have people said about it? Like, have you, contacted anybody been in contact with you about, taking it somewhere with what you're doing?
I mean, the feedback's been good. It's been steadily growing. The first couple of years, I was really just kind of doing my own thing. I was posting it online, wasn't really expecting much feedback. I'd post it up on Facebook to my friends, but it took several years before I actually put a business page together or anything. But when I, shortly before I left California, I was going to some local shows, different Comic Cons and such, and I would always bring with me a little kind of little portfolio per se. And I was going to like the artist alleys and different things, asking people, how do you put a book together and things like that. And I remember it was the September before I left, and a couple of the artists were like, you know what, your stuff's really cool. Actually come back behind the table, away from the crowd, and let's talk. Let's continue this conversation. But, you seem like a cool person. Let's not, but I also need to, try and make my table and such. Right. But I want to continue this conversation. And after talking with those guys, I ended up working on my first book from that. And then as, time progressed, I started going to Kickstarter, and I haven't really had much in terms of trying to take it out of the element that it's in. Like, I don't know, yes, the dream is to someday, make like an Animaniacs or like a Looney Tunes style show with it. But for the time being, I'm pretty content just kind of building up my audience, working on Kickstarters, funding little projects here and there, and then trying to grow my audience that way. Because as we know, newspapers are slowly dying. And so it's, not feasible anymore to try and, look for Dust Bunny Mafia in a newspaper. I'd rather see it, go on Kickstarter and have it fund in, 10 minutes or something like that, or 24 hours. And
Nice. So the next evolution, obviously for you, was you got mob guys and they love to gamble. So what made you say, I want to create a card game?
Well, I mean, it was just, it just seemed to fit. I mean, recently I've been, the last couple Kickstarters I've done have been a style of these little booklets called Based on a True Story.
Yes.
And so they're little like zine booklets where I take real life mobster stories and adapt them. And so I'm talking, you know, Capone, Lucky Luciano, all the big names you can think of. And as I dig into the history of it, I'm like, I was like, what can I make that's really unique for each Kickstarter? And so I found someone that makes custom poker chips.
That's awesome.
And so for each Kickstarter campaign, I do a branded poker chip that comes with every physical level. So if you get the digital book, you know, obviously you're not getting any printed materials, but if you get the base package of any Kickstarter I do, I'm going to put a poker chip with it because mobsters and gambling, I mean,
Go hand in hand, right?
yeah. So I mean, from, you know, backroom, you know, card games to Las Vegas.
Sure.
So I was like, all right, I'm doing these poker chips. Why don't I just, you know, put together a deck of playing cards, you know, at least for now, a standard deck with my dust bunnies on them and see where it goes. And if people react to it well, you know, I might do another deck with my Based on a True Story style. I actually have an idea for an actual card game that would be different.
That's
would be, you know, like an actual, you know, not just your standard playing cards, but that's a couple of years down the road.
No, I got you. And not to you know go back, but I was on your website earlier today, and I noticed you mentioned your first book. Was your first book Meet the Family? Is that the first book that you're talking about? So.
Yep.
I read the other book that you just mentioned, based on a true story, and it was informative as heck, man. I was reading. Jimmy Hoppa is my favorite character right now. I love the concept. But Meet the Family, is that done in the same way where you're kind of like, it's just like almost like a comic strip style where you're telling a story? Or how is Meet the Family for like people wanted to pick it up? What's in that book?
So Meet the Family is like your classic Garfield collection, or like your Calvin and Hobbes. So it's a bunch of, you know, newspaper style strips, 3 to 6 panels. And it's, so it's set up that way. There's, it's 132 pages, full color.
That's awesome.
Got over 200 strips in it. And then along the way, I do different chapters. So most of that is the first 2 years of my comic strip, which you can read a lot of it online. But then for the book, I actually put in, you know, different chapter covers. I'll do splash pages. I'll include something extra you won't find online. So like at the end of the book, I did a mini chapter that messes with the U.S. Postal Service and has some like government mafia ties to it, and things like that. So that was my first book. And then last year, I went to Kickstarter and funded The Blind Tiger, which is my second collection, that is set up a similar way, you know, 132 pages, full color. And I went all out with a like 16-page new story for that one.
Wow.
So
It's awesome.
That's pretty sweet. So let's talk about your Kickstarter and the levels and what can people expect from pledging.
yeah, so with the Kickstarter, I'm looking to, you know, fund a deck of playing cards, and the base level is $20, and for the US, all levels have free shipping, so it's already built in. You're not going to pay extra for it, and so with your standard, you know, 20 level deck, you get a 55 set, 55 card deck. You're going to have your standard 52 cards, you know, ace through king. I mean, yeah, of the 4 suits. And each one of the cards in that deck is going to have unique artwork. So I don't reuse any of the characters. So, I mean, to show you some examples.
Sweet.
Like that's actually one of the, that's a lobster. It's kind of hard to tell, but he's fun fact is lobsters are brown and blue when they're actually alive, but they're not red until they're cooked.
Right.
Um,
Interesting.
and so yeah, each of the standard deck, 52 cards, none of the characters are reused in that. And then I have actually 3 Joker cards that round out to complete the deck. 2 of them are guest artists, which will be revealed throughout the campaign as we hit different funding milestones. And then the last one is actually a commission slot where I do, I'll create Mafia animals for people. And so people will give me, an animal, give me a style, and I'll create a character for them. And so the last one is going to be, a commission where I'll create a mobster animal for people.
I like that you call them mobinals. What is it? Mobbin? I'm trying to say it. Mobinal.
Yeah. So I kind of tried to find a clever way to do mob and animals and tie it together.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. When does the Kickstarter take off? When does it start?
So it officially launches on Monday, the 18th of January, and then it will run through the 17th of February.
Yeah.
So, the standard like 30 days. And yeah, by the time this airs, I believe it'll still be about halfway through.
You'll be about halfway through. Usually it's funny because we just recently did one, and around the halfway mark is when you're like, damn, okay, it's stalling a little bit now. You know what I mean? Like, how do we get it going again? So hopefully this will, for everybody watching, just go on there and get your pledges. You start at 20, Bret, or is that
Yeah. So cool. 20 is the base level for your deck of cards and your poker chip. And then I've got a little something for everyone on this thing. I've targeted both the card game people that aren't familiar with my comics. So if you're really into, cards and board games, I've got, single decks, I've got double decks, I've got up to 6 and 12 decks of cards in case, for the card enthusiasts out there. I've also got packages where I'll, for $25, I'll throw in one of my true story booklets. So you'll get a booklet like this and the deck of cards. I believe for 30, I actually have both because I have 2 volumes like this out. And then in actually some of the higher tiers, I have a couple of crochet characters of my dust bunnies. And so I've got, this is Leo. He's the boss of the Dust Bunny Mafia. And for 105, you get this crochet character, as well as the deck of cards and a couple other things. And then for 110, I've got Floyd, who's the main crow of the story.
That's awesome, Bret. Good job, man. Listen, you're gonna get my pledge, so we're good. I'm definitely getting something up there. So I'll definitely be pledging on this. This is awesome, man.
Yeah, your production value is really top notch, which goes back to how do you allot your time to create, and then how long does it take to do a strip?
Let's see. I mean, the strips vary. I mean, luckily for me, the way I built my comic, it's all vector-based in Adobe Illustrator is how I've been working. And so I've got a library of assets. So I can go to any of my strips for the past 8 years and pluck an element from it and drop it into a new strip.
Like your backgrounds and file cabinets and tables. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Or I can take a character, a car, a weapon, anything. And so they've all got their separate layers and they're grouped up, and I can pull out and drop in as needed. And that's actually something I used to feel guilty about when I was, really first starting out, because I'm like, I'm not doing this like the other people are, because, I'm not doing this traditionally where, I'm drawing out everything, and then in order to do new panels, I'm redrawing, the same shirts, or I'm redrawing the same car, or different things. But then I started to do this based on the kind of programming philosophy of if you have it, reuse it. And so I took that and I was like, eventually nowadays, I don't even think twice about it because it's just,
Yeah, like
that's my style now. And
done. Yeah.
Oh, it's just like a film studio. You go to the prop room and you get props. You reuse them. You get the wardrobe. You know, you go back and get the. You know, it's the same philosophy.
yeah, it is. Never really thought about it that way, but you're totally right.
I got you.
And so actually, this weekend I was working on some new strips, and in a 2-hour phone call that my wife was having in the other room, I managed to knock out 2 strips, and I wasn't even working the whole time. So
Nice.
sometimes it can be quick like that. I mean, those strips, I had, you know, the script that I wanted to base it off of, and I kind of was, they were this true story style. So I was taking a page from a book that I had read recently, and I was like, all right, here's some fantastic dialogue that I'm just going to reinterpret with my characters. And so I had some stuff, you know, pre-written for me, but that's on the quicker end. Sometimes, you know, I can spend, you know, 2 to 3 hours just trying to get something right.
Right. Yeah. How often do you put the strips on your website?
When it's a good week, it's twice a week. But when I'm running Kickstarters and such like that, sometimes it'll go a couple weeks without new things being published.
Yeah.
I've had, when I was first starting out, I was doing 3 times a week. And then when I made the move from California to Chicago, I was doing 2 times a week. And then once I started working again afterwards, it was like once a week.
Yeah.
So kind of fluctuates, but
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I get it. Now, quick question, just not even related. I know you do a lot of research for your comic strips. What's your favorite mobster movie?
I mean, I have to go with The Godfather.
Yeah.
Godfather Part 1.
Part 1, yeah.
Yeah.
They're actually, I think he redid Part 3, I think, and it's coming
Yeah,
out.
they recut it.
Yeah, they recut it, right? Yeah. Part 1 is good. I like Goodfellas. You know, that's like, I mean, Joe Pesci in that movie is just ridiculous. Like, you know, how am I funny? Funny how? And he's like shooting Spider, and I'm like, this guy is insane. He's nuts. But yeah, I like that, and obviously based on books and stuff like that from Mom, and it's like, it's just so interesting. Sam, what you got? What's your favorite?
I'm more curious about how many fedoras you own.
Great question. I own about 15. And I've got some for every season. So like I'm in a wool one right now for you know, the cold season in Chicago. I've got straw ones for summer. I've got, you know, all sizes of brim, from, you know, nice and wide ones to snap brims and such.
When did you start collecting them?
Let's see. I was in college. 20. Let's see. I don't know. It's probably been about 15 years.
Nice.
You know, and I thought you were wearing that one just because of the theme. I didn't realize that that's actually, you actually
I see the collection behind them.
I thought that was all set. You know, okay, I'm gonna be talking about mobs. Let's put some fedora. I thought that's what this was about. I didn't realize you were like really into them. That's cool.
Oh yeah, this is me. Like,
all right.
I'm one of the few people, like of our generation, that I love to get dressed up, and so I went. You know, I'm working in, you know, corporate America at an insurance company, and it's gotten lax in, so like we can wear jeans any day and, you know, a polo, but I'll go in and I'll wear, you know, I won't wear a suit jacket, but when I went to my interview, I was in a full suit. I had a vest, I had the tie on, I had a fedora, I had a long,
Nice.
you know, I had my winter coat essentially. And then, you know, the first week I was there. I was still dressing like that, and one of the older IT guys that was around was going to give us a tour of the facilities, and he came, and there was only a couple of us, new hires, and he just looked at me and he's like, "You're going to outdo me. I can't compete with this. I'm not giving you a tour of anything."
That's awesome.
That is awesome, man. Bret, thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate you coming on and talking about your wonderful, wonderful property. And for everybody watching, make sure you go to Kickstarter. It's Dust Bunny Mafia. Check it out. It's out now. Obviously, it's the 29th, so it's out now. It's going through the 17th, so make sure that gets funded. And thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on. I'm sure Sam's got some words.
What's your website? Where can they reach you?
They can reach me at dustbunnymafia.com. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Search Dust Bunny Mafia. Dust Bunny Mafia is pretty unique, so search it on Google and you'll find me.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, when you sent me your book, I was definitely impressed. I'm sitting there giggling as I'm reading through it. You did a great job with it, and I think you're gonna have an easy time with your Kickstarter.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And
come back anytime, man. We definitely want to have you back.
Definitely.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I look forward to it.
You got it, buddy. So that was Bret Juliano, and the guy's got. I'm surprised he hasn't been picked up.
Yeah, no, Dust Bunny Mafia, baby. I'm all about you. I'm telling you right now, I'm getting a deck of cards. Like, that's awesome, bro.
It's what's funny. It's I get ideas from everybody we talk to. I get inspired because you think about the token. Yes, I was like, oh, Suki now.
Yeah, so that token. I was like, wait a minute.
All right, he sent me the link for the Kickstarter page, so I'll make sure that it's on the show.
Sweet. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, obviously the Kickstarter is going through February 17th. It is January 29th. So guys, get on there, get on Kickstarter. The link is going to be at the bottom of this. Hit it up and make sure that he gets funded. And when you get a chance, go to dustbunnymafia.com. He's got an awesome store, bro. He's got a whole bunch. He's got T-shirts. He's got all of his books.
He's killing it.
He's got Leo's hat.
Literally.
Pin. He's got pins. No, seriously.
The mob boss.
I love that he's got little crochet, little stuffed animals. Like that's. I mean, he's got a whole bunch of stuff going on.
He's thought of everything. He's thought of everything. The guy is an entrepreneur. He's really got his finger on the pulse. It's just a matter of time. I can see somebody picking this up. I mean, literally, I can see it. It's just a matter of time. He's just got to get it into the right hands. But keep doing what you're doing, man. Really good stuff. I really enjoyed it. You guys are gonna enjoy it. Go over to the Kickstarter, support it. It's really dope.
Really, really dope. And you never answered my question though. What's your favorite mobster movie? Why are you avoiding the question here?
What is my favorite? It is Untouchables.
Oh, the Untouchables.
No one ever brings them up with Kevin Costner.
Yeah, well, that's probably why, because it's Kevin Costner. I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
It's Kevin Costner. It's James Bond. What's his name?
Which James Bond?
One of the originals.
Oh,
Sean Connery.
yeah.
Sean Connery. Is in it. Was it Bobby De Niro in it?
Is he?
No,
Oh,
yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
maybe.
Yes, he was the guy. He was the mob guy.
I mean, if it's a mobster film,
Remember, he
it's
walks
like
around the
he's in-
table, talk about teams with the bat.
Yeah. Is that him that does that?
Yeah, I thought it was Bobby
Yeah,
De
I
Niro.
haven't seen that movie in like forever, bro.
Yeah,
That's
Untouchables.
from 87, I think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an oldie. It's an oldie but goodie.
yeah.
It is a good. Yeah, Sean Connery.
Untouchables.
Andy Garcia's in it.
Andy Garcia's in it. Yes.
Yeah.
Robbie De Niro. Bobby De Niro's in it. I told you. He was Capone. He's Al Capone.
Capone. Yeah, no, awesome, dude. I mean, listen, like I said, that's my boy Jimmy Hopper. He's got Jimmy Hopper in one of his books. I mean, Bret, I think, has done a phenomenal job incorporating that. The whole and making it fun. Like it's cool, man. And the fact that he wears fedoras because he wears fedoras and not because he's writing about mobsters is amazing. It's dope. It's amazing.
Even his art style is pretty dope. The way his character illustrations. The fact that he uses Illustrator. You know what's funny? He brought up Illustrator, and I had like shell shock. Yeah, I had like because it was the one program I could never master. I didn't have the patience to master it. I was tired of all of the dots and I was like, that's why I stuck to Photoshop. And I was like, Illustrator used to kill. But I know Illustrator is great, because they use it in marketing and all that other stuff, the vector files. You can blow it up as much as you want. And I just couldn't get with it. So, my hats off to you.
And he's doing his thing with it because, like he says, he has a library of things. It makes it easier for him to create his comic strips, which is awesome.
That's what I did with Cosmic Wars.
Yeah.
Remember with Cosmic Wars, I had just assets of ships, backgrounds, all that stuff, whatever that I would create, and I would reuse them, and I would just change the angle because I did everything in 3D. And so, like, I would create an environment, and I would just change the camera angle. I always had that environment saved. I used to have these templates.
Well, you got to work. Sometimes you got to work smarter, not harder, right? Like you got to make sure that especially when you're cranking out, stuff, you have to be able to get there easily and maneuver around.
And
I'm
a lazy artist in a sense that I lose patience if I'm spending too much time on a page. You know what I'm saying? So which is why I do clean art style. So I'm really impressed by like the Stefan Platts of the world. Stefan Platt, speaking of that, Stefan Platt back in the days, he was being paid $40,000 a book.
Wow.
Right? But the problem was he was so damn slow. It would take him forever to produce a book. When you look at the detail of the work that he put into it, it's understandable why it took so long. But if I was making $40,000,
he was just penciling, right?
Yeah, he was penciling, and they got him an inker and colorist because they wanted him to move faster because originally I think he was inking himself, and they were like no. I was like so that's why I think they got I forgot the guy's name that was his inker. But when you look at his stuff, he was
doing penciling and inking at the beginning for 40 G's.
Yeah, he was doing pencil and inking, and then they took that away from him. But I know that they were struggling with getting him to produce the books faster because they were so popular. But if I was making 40 G's a book, dude, you're getting them every 3 weeks from me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, pump. I want that money. It's like he's thinking forever. He was probably rich. Back in the 80s, 40 G's a book. He was probably like, yo, I'm getting me a iRock Z40. And
a lot of money, 1980 something.
Yeah,
definitely, sure.
Think about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
40 G's.
Wow. Yeah, man. Oof. All right. Well, so next week, let's talk about next week. Next week, we will have Tommy Coates on the show, on our live show. Tune in Wednesday the 3rd.
Independent filmmaker.
Our live show with independent filmmaker, Mr. Tommy Coates. He has a couple of projects on his YouTube channel that you guys need to check out.
Yep.
Very well done stuff. So check that out. He'll be on the show next week, and then kicks off February, which is going to be chock full of artists and creators and more of what we do. So check that out.
Chock full of nuts is that heavenly coffee.
And I know I talked about the shameless plug segment. We haven't really gotten into it. I promise you we will. We just run out of time. We have so much fun talking about other stuff, but definitely gonna bring that back. So stay tuned for that. And I'm done. I got nothing else. Sam, what you got?
I got nothing but love for you, baby. Got nothing but love for you, honey. Whatever. I'm Sam the Crazy Man Vera. And we is out.
It's just easy. It's not.
Crazy.
Acquiesce. No, I was talking about my friend Acquiesce. I met him.
say my name, say my name, right?
This is what you were thinking? Oh my God.
He described me. He said, I'm the what?
Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. To Catch the Craze. You are listening to Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze.
Candy girl.